Um, Tracey, I'm just gonna let you start by hearing. You guys hear me okay? Okay. By hearing, Gabby just looked at me like, yeah, like too good, bro. Like, yeah, I can hear you. Calm down. Anyways, so I'm gonna let you, Tracey, kind of start off just by sharing how you found the business, how you started, and didn't think it would turn into what it's turned into.
Oh my God, how much time do we have? Okay, Megan's on here. I know she is. She better be. She's the one that changed my life pretty much. Um, I was doing keto. Some girl on my Facebook, I have a keto page that I was running before this business. And some girl shared Megan's video about keto stuff. And towards the end of this hour-long video, I mean, I'm sitting there watching it. Then she picks up and shows this thing of coffee, keto coffee in the video. I must have rewatched and rewatched trying to find what it was called so I could Google it. And then I messaged that girl who I guess was a distributor. I didn't know this till later, was a distributor for Megan, but she never knew how to work she just didn't work the business. I don't want to say she didn't know how, she didn't work the business. And she didn't message me back. So I searched Facebook and YouTube trying to find this woman in this video for like a week. And then finally I found the right Megan Carter. I messaged every single one on Facebook, and then she messaged me back. I seriously, this is a true story. Ask Megan. And then Megan called me, and or we texted, and she sent me some samples. I said, I want to order it. And so she called and we got the order in, and she said, you might as well be a distributor. You get extra bag of coffee. I went, sign me up. I'll never, and Megan can attest this. I literally sat there and said, I'll tell you right now, though, I will never sell this. I am not a salesperson. I do not have time. And so don't ever ask me. I just want the coffee. And seriously, Megan, did I not say that? And she said, oh, it's okay. It's okay. You never know what'll happen. You never know. Well, then about a month into drinking this coffee, I was a travel nurse at Doctors at Work. Everybody noticed, man, you're on your game. You're losing weight. People started asking. I started talking about it in my keto page. People wanted to get it. I'm like, maybe I should listen to this girl. Maybe I should get a little more involved. And so I did. I messaged her. I said, what do I got to do? You know, what do I do? And so she started to train me from there. And it kind of just snowballed from there. And then 3 months into it, I went Emerald, getting ready to go Diamond. My daughter's having her baby. I want a couple months off. Was going to take a couple months off, go back to taking travel contracts. By the time February, March came, I was a triple diamond, shooting for Prez by March. And my husband, I said, I think I need to take another I need to get back to work. And he looked at me and he said, why? Why would you do that? And I'm like, well, because that's what I do. I'm a nurse. I'm supposed to be working. And he said, honey, you're so much nicer now. You're happier now. You get to stay home. You get to work on the farm. You get to do what you want. You spend every day with the baby. You're making way more money than you did as a nurse. Why would you go back? And I said, you're right. You're right. I think I am going to retire and start enjoying life. And that's what I did. And that's where I said, here I am. It was crazy. But my biggest regret is that I didn't start sooner, that I didn't, start right off the bat when Megan was telling me, hey, let's do this, let's do that. I'm like, no, I don't have time. I don't have time. But I will say, when I started this business, when I went Emerald, when I went Diamond, I was working 16-hour shifts as a travel nurse. I was driving. I mean, I was on the road a good 18 hours between my shift and driving, and then sleep time. So that's why when people tell me I don't have time, that may be why you might get a little attitude back from me. I don't know. But because everybody's got time. You can make time. That's my story in a nutshell.
I love it. And Gabby was like, I freaking love this story. I could listen to it, whatever that is, so many times. And I was like, yeah, me too. Because I think that the crazy thing is that things like this happen when you least expect it. And I don't think any of us who are VIP or triple and above, like, we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I joined so that I can, be a top income earner in the company. Like, we didn't even know what that meant, right? We just joined because we wanted something different. And for you, it was the products. So let me ask you this. When you started kind of getting, starting, where did you start? Like, where did, it was a little bit of, okay, I'm not going to do this. Okay. Then you started seeing results and then you started. Where did you start?
Where did I start? Well, I started talking about it in my keto page, of course, before I really started doing the business. I was like, man, this coffee, because we all drank keto coffee, and that coffee that we have is keto coffee. It's the bulletproof coffee that all keto people drink. I mean, but we bought it in all these different containers and spent $100 to make one freaking cup of coffee. And here I had it in this little pack. So once I realized, I just asked Megan. I didn't know about any other products, no other products. And I'm like, she's like, well, why don't you post about this? And I didn't feel comfortable posting about it because I didn't know about them. But she guided me through it. She said, just put this post on your wall. If somebody comments, then same thing we tell all you guys, then send me a screenshot and I'll help you answer them. And as we did that over and over, I started to learn, and that's how I learned. I just started saving. I mean, I must have drove her crazy for the first month or two. I know I did, messaging her all the time, help, help. Same way, I felt the same way you guys did. Oh my God, I'm bugging her. I'm driving her crazy. I feel stupid. That's how I felt when I started. I didn't know anything. I didn't have a good Facebook. I was a very negative person before this. Totally different person than the way I am now. So for me to even make this business successful, it wasn't even a possibility. I mean, for maybe $100 a month, that's about what I expected out of it, enough to cover my coffee. So I didn't have to explain to my husband how much I was spending on coffee. But as I started to get into it, I started trying other stuff. I'm like, man, if this is so good, maybe this is good. She's showing me all these results to share on my page of other people. And I started like, man, I'd like to have that. So then I started trying the other products. I literally have tried every product that we've ever sold. I've even got one of each here in the house or more. But once I started using it, I just became passionate about it. So then the more then people kind of seeing me develop on Facebook. I went from this negative person to wanting to try and get a little healthier. I was tired. I was stressed. I was overweight. I was tired. I'm 52. I was freaking tired. And they seen me change over the past 18 months to 2 years. People that knew me before look at me today and they're like, I just can't believe the difference. The journey, they literally watched my journey. So I shared, I guess the way I started was I just started sharing my own story and my own journey and my own struggles as I went. And then as I was improving or kept talking about it, then it made people more interested. The more they seen me change, the more they wanted it. And it just that's just kind of where it snowballed. It just led. It didn't happen overnight. That's for sure. It did not happen overnight. It happened by me opening my mouth.
I love that. And I was talking to somebody today, and it's like, when people hop in and they're like, well, I want to try the products first. And like, I get that. But people want to see the transformation happen. They don't just want the before and after. It's like, why do we all watch reality TV? Because yeah, it's cool to like read about what happened, but like we like to see it unfold. And people want to watch our journey unfold, right? And so you're robbing people of seeing, of not being able to see that unfold if you feel like you have to have a before and after picture before you start talking about the products. Instead of saying, hey, there's hydrate in my cup, or hey, this is my journey to get healthier and whatever, and you are literally putting it out there, people want to see how you're doing it. And they want to see how you're doing because you're human, just like the rest of us. And I think that that's something that if you guys can wrap your head around that, you're going to be able to talk to other people about it so differently, because that is something that people will say a lot is, I haven't tried any of the products. I don't know if these products work. Or, I've had even people say to me, like, I don't look like you do. I don't have like the blonde hair and the little body. I'm like, girl, if you would have seen me when I started this business, I looked like a hot freaking
Yeah.
mess. I was about 30 pounds overweight. I just had my baby. Like all of this stuff that we're not like, that you don't see now, like we had that. And that's why people who have been following our journey from the get-go believe it, because they see that where we started. Hey, we started from the bottom out here. We all come from that. And I think that the more you can realize, like, actually, my imperfection right now is going to help me be successful, because people are going to see how I'm growing and they're going to believe it because they're witnessing the transformation. And like, I think that that is like something that's like so crucial for everybody to wrap their head around. So Tracey, when you first started doing it and you were like, okay, like I'm gonna start doing this. But I'm working. I'm working. How did you manage your time? Because right now we all have time, but what happens when people start to go back to work? What happens if people are still working right now? Like, how did you make the time for it?
Well, real quick before I start, I want to go back to what you were just saying about your results, because the one thing that I did struggle with in the beginning was talking about my insecurities, because I lost a lot of friends because I quit socializing because I was so embarrassed about how I looked. I mean, you all seen my before picture. It was embarrassing. I didn't want to put that out there. But as I did and shared it, then other people related, and then they seen the difference, you know, and watch that transformation. That's what will sell it. And I do want to touch back on that before we're off this soon. But the time, oh my God, the time was a struggle because, like I said, I work night shift to top it off. So sleep is like my best friend. That's all I wanted to do was sleep. I wanted to be wired at work and then sleep as soon as I got home. And then I had an hour and a half drive. So what I would do is before, when I get up in the when I get up in the afternoon, which would be my morning, I would post. I would get up and post, put a post up, and then I would listen to like a training video on my drive to work for the hour and a half. I would listen to one and a half of them on my drive, and then when I got to work, I always got there maybe about 15 minutes early, and I'd sit in the parking lot and I would see if anybody commented on my post, or I'd respond to any messages, and then I would go into work. And I worked in the ER trauma. We didn't get like breaks, and you can't just run to the bathroom when you want. I mean, we were lucky to even get to go to the bathroom. And I remember it being the 31st of a month, and me and I was going diamond, and we had a freaking trauma come in at a quarter till 12, and I still had to move in order, and I was freaking out. Man, I was like, do I save this person? I need to get this started. What do I do? No, I'm kidding. We saved them. But then I found out it was Central Time. I still had another hour. So we were good. But it was all about just managing your time. So when I did go into PE, I would, that's when I would respond to people. That's when I'd message Megan and I'd be like, send me something real quick. Help me, and I'd need something really fast. Then when I got off of work, I would respond when I got home before I went to bed, and then I would put up a post before I went to bed. And it was either talking about my day or whatever. Or when I was at work, I'd throw my stethoscope on the computer thing with the keto energy stick, take a quick pic, throw it up, and say, "This right here was a lifesaver tonight. This is what saved me tonight." Just things like that. It took me 2 seconds to make that post, and I just found ways to do that. And you get excited, and people, when they comment, they're commenting, they showed interest. It's okay, they'll be there when you message them. It wasn't like I had to stop everything and message them right at that moment, but as long as I was putting it out there, that was the most important thing. I can get back to everybody that's commenting, but I couldn't get back to them if I wasn't getting the posts up. So post was number one for me, was getting those up, if that makes sense. Sorry, I told you I'm a squirrel.
No, I love it. I'm a squirrel too, so I can follow along. And so here's the thing though, is one thing that I love that you said is they can wait and you can get back to them. And I think that a lot of people feel like they have to be glued to their phones to be successful in this business. And the reality of it is it's all about creating boundaries. How I've heard so many people say like, oh, I couldn't be successful, or, it was just too much for me. And I was like, listen, it's just, you didn't have good enough boundaries. That's not the business's fault. And I think that understanding that you can, like I have boundaries from my phone, where, you know, listen, I have do not disturb. Like I have, you know, like all these things, because I remember Aaron saying something to me, there's no such thing as an it works emergency. Unless you're at the end of the month and you're promoting, that's an emergency. But other than that, like the people can wait. And I think that when you start realizing like, hey, do doctor's offices call you back? Or in the meantime, while you're waiting for them to call you back, do you go switch doctor's offices? You don't do that. People will wait. They'll wait for you to get back to them. But when you show that you're passionate about it and you don't miss that, like I'll have, like, if you guys think that I don't have like 16 messages in my unread messages at all time, like you're wrong. I do at all times. Taylor can probably say the same thing about every leader in this business. Just understands that like there's always going to be something you can do. And I want you guys to understand that. And I was just coaching some people on this the other day, that there's not every day where you're going to feel like you're 100%. Not every day are you going to feel like I can get everything done today. Some days you're going to be like, bro, I really think that I can only get like 80 to 70, 80% of my crap done today. Do you know how much better 70 or 80% is than 0? And I promise you, on those days that you feel like just not doing it and just like, okay, I just have to get this post up, or let me respond to these messages, those are the times that literally people just end up purchasing. And I'm like, dang, I probably wouldn't have done that. It's like God just gives you this little wink when you do it, right? When you are obedient to being in this business. And I agree, Gabby, you can't be like an all or nothing when it comes to these tasks. You can't think, oh, well, if I can't send out 50 messages and I can't send out any. Don't do that. Learn how to work it at 80%, right? Learn how to work this business at 70%. If you can't get 50 out, get 10. Get 10. And you know what I bet's going to happen? You're going to be like, dang, that was easy. Let me go ahead and get out 10 more. Oh, dang, that wasn't as bad as I thought, right? But I will say that mentally you have to be all in. Mentally you have to be all in. You have to say, even on the days when I can't do everything, I'm still going to do something. I can do something for my business every day, even if I can't do everything. So Tracey, talk about, what you've been learning with everything that's been going on, because I think that, look, she's just like, take a step back. Because I just think I want people to understand that, like, no matter how successful you are in this business, life happens. And people who have success or who have had success, they're not immune to having negative things happen to them. But it's all about how you respond. So I want you to kind of just give some inspiration and tell what's been going on with you.
Well, I will tell you, we have struggles too. Like, before this whole Facebook thing happened, like my husband and I, he traveled for his job, I traveled for mine, so we never seen each other anyway. And when we did, it was quality time. So he didn't notice, with me working this business on the side on my phone all the time in my spare time, I could work it as much as I wanted because he wasn't here anyway, so he wouldn't see it. But thank God for this business. He got laid off, he was off for 6 months. 6 months, and my checks literally paid every freaking bill that we have, and we have quite a few, because my husband likes to live high on the horse. But so when he was home, and this is when I think I related to some people on my team, because I guess I didn't experience it enough I knew that people, like their spouse, would give them a hard time when they'd start the business because they felt they were on their phone all the time. But I didn't really experience it that much, but I understood what they were saying. But I did experience it when he was home for 6 months. I wanted to kill him. He started to, we started having a little issues there, because he was home to see me on my phone all the time, or see me working it. And finally I just came out and said, look, I think I was on a book club Zoom. We were driving to the camper, and I was trying to do that. And then when I got off of that, I was answering some messages. We were traveling. It was no big deal. And I looked at him and I said, look, buddy, if I was working it's no different than me working at the hospital on a 12 to 16 hour shift. The only difference is you aren't following me around. If you were at work with me following me around at the hospital, you would have felt left out then too. I wouldn't have had time for you. I'm doing my job. I'm doing my business. This is my job. So, but at the same time, I also realized I wasn't setting the boundaries as well either. That was a learning experience for me. And then my Facebook got shut down, and was working the business.
Before,
I
let
mean,
me just stop you real quick. Before you go into that, when she said, you know, that about the nursing thing is like, you know, I think what you guys all have to realize is that freedom is such an amazing thing and it looks different for everybody, but being able to work from home doesn't mean that you don't work. Okay. And I think a lot of times we mistake that and we say, oh, I'm a boss babe, hashtag freedom, hashtag blessed, like all these other things. And it's like, yeah, you are, but that doesn't mean you don't have work to do. And just like she said, you have, like, if he was following her around at work, he would feel left out too. And so, but the reality of it is she doesn't have to do the travel time. She doesn't have to do the things. And my husband is working from home now during this quarantine. And like, we have to coordinate our schedules and we have to figure out like what that looks like because he has meetings too. And you just realize that you have so much more flexibility, but flexibility doesn't mean not doing it.
right.
Flexibility means you choose when you get to do it. But what's the key word? Do it.
Choose.
Do.
And when are you doing it?
Yeah. And here's the thing is we're so used to other people setting boundaries for us of we have to drive to a job and we have a cubicle of a boundary, or you have a hospital that you serve at. We have to be at we have physical boundaries that are put in place from a traditional job. But when you look at this from not a traditional standpoint and you say, okay, this is not a traditional job, but it's still a job. It's still something that I'm doing. It's still my work. It's still my passion. It's still my business. And so understanding that I need to create my own boundaries so that people know. And how you create boundaries is understanding communication. That's it. And Tracey, so I think Chrissy asked, what are your boundaries? So what are your boundaries that you personally implement?
Well, that was one of my problems is, yeah, I wanted those boundaries and I wanted, like to be more disciplined on how I sorted my time out. And I struggle with that a lot because I mean, it's just, that's why I'm an ER nurse. I like stress. I like chaos. That's how I like it. I don't like organization. Um, so that's been like my biggest struggle. And I guess I've listened to a lot that Brittany Landrum Zoom the other night really, really hit home with me because I related to everything that she had to say. But when this happened, but before I listened to that, Amber Parker had one, you talked to me about it, was setting, but I had to not work it 24/7. I had to find, like when we went to bed, my phone does not go in our bedroom. At 10 o'clock, 10 to 11 o'clock, if you text me, I'm not going to answer you, even if I am up, because to me, that is my off time. I'm done. Unless I see it's an emergency or something, I will look. But if I'm still up, but I leave my phone in the office. I found that when I am having time, when it is time for my husband or the farm or whatever, I don't take my phone. Which is hard because I like to take pictures. So I'm always using his phone now. I'm like, give me your phone. Because he's like, where's your phone? I said, I've got boundaries. It's not phone time right now. So I need your phone. And so you've got to set those boundaries. Another thing that I started doing was when I got up in the morning, I would set that alarm clock and get up earlier, whether he was home or not. And I would come out here. I would do my self-development. I'd listen to some things, and it could be 5 or 6 in the morning. And there's no set time I need to be up, but I would do that. And then, and I would not look at my phone. I will not look at my phone. If I'm going to send something to my chat, like for our prayer Zoom, I just go straight to that. I send it. I don't look at anything else because I'm not up yet. And I was explaining this to Melanie one day. She's like, how can you do that when people are messaging you? I said, until I post on Facebook, nobody knows I am up. Until I respond to a message, nobody knows I'm awake yet. This is my time. This is my time in the morning. And so that's the time that I said. It took me a long time to get to do that. But I found that when I did that, and then I would go into the office and I'd sit down and I'd do my habit tracker, which I was realizing I was working harder, not smarter. And I started to find the things that I was not doing properly. And then I set that time in the office. Then it's break time. I leave the phone in there. I'm going to go walk. I'm going to go walk somewhere. I'm going to go, go in the kitchen and actually cook something without burning it because I'm not answering messages in the middle of it. Seriously, you've got, yes, you want to work this business when you're wanting to promote and stuff, but work it smarter. Get your posts up. You do all the work. Then all you have to do later is maybe throw up a post later and answer messages. Go interact with some people. When you pick it up here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, you'll just find that you're working smarter. And when I started doing the habit tracker, I didn't do the habit tracker. I just knew I was doing all the things. I'm doing all the things. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for so long. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what the 6 list is. Work like crazy all day long. All excited because I made this brand new habit tracker. I'm going to go check it off. Went to go check it off. I'm like, shit, I've been working my ass off all day. And I can't check that one off. I can't check that one off either. I'm like, well, what the hell have I been doing? I've been like randomly messaging here, flopping back and forth. Had no organization. And that's what helped me see the areas I was lacking. I thought I was working hard. I thought I was doing the right things until you do that. And that's why the habit tracker on the 2020, I preach this. It's not there for us to grade you. It's there to make yourself accountable, or write your own down. But until I made myself accountable and had to check it off, I didn't realize the parts I wasn't doing because I felt like I was working all the time and I was working hard. But then I realized I wasn't doing like a lot of the income producing activities the way I should have been doing them. So that was a big eye opener for me.
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle.
I think too, that understanding that like you guys, this is a process, right? You're on a journey. And I think so often we're so eager to get the answers to the test that we miss the whole lesson. Does that make sense? Like we're so eager, like what exact boundaries are we trying to set? Okay, let me go try this, right? Instead of being like, hey, let me just see if this works. Because I will tell you that I've had different varying levels of boundaries that I've had to set depending on what season of my life that I'm in. And you need different things at different seasons of your life. And what works today might not work in 2 months from now, but you know that you have the ability to adjust and to adapt and to pivot and to change lanes. And so for me, different things that I've worked, just to give you guys some suggestions, there was a period of time where I had to put my phone in the bathroom at night because I naturally was not born a morning person, but I've, thank God, made myself into one, and understand that like it's a process, that it's not always going to feel like great and glorious, but like I've had to put my phone in the bathroom because I will subconsciously like turn off 7 alarms and be like, oh, I didn't hear them. Okay. I didn't hear them. I could set like 12, but like I had to literally physically put my phone in a position where I had to physically get out of the bed to turn off the alarm. Okay. So that's one thing that I've done. Another thing was I didn't take, like, I try not, now it's different obviously because of like the home office thing. Again, you just adjust. My office is actually in the middle floor of our house. And with the kids home now, it's not like I can work where they're playing. Okay. So now I work in our bedroom, but before my boundary was my bedroom is Brian and I's room. It's not a work room. And I designate rooms where I work. And I think it's easy because it's easier that way, because when people know that I'm like, even now my kids know, hey, mom is in her room, she's working. right? Like they know that. And it's just like a classroom. What do you do when you're in the classroom? Your brain knows when you're in the classroom, you're working, you're learning, right? And you set certain things. What happens? Never fails. Perfect example. What happens when you go into the kitchen? Even if you're not hungry, you go to the pantry, you go to the fridge. What can I find and hunt on today? What am I going to snack on? You could not even be hungry, but because you went into the kitchen, your brain knows it's time to eat. It's the same thing. Set a workspace in your house. This is time where I am working. It's communication, it's boundaries, right? So I highly suggest doing that. And then the other thing is just if you have a spouse or significant other that gets frustrated with the amount of time that you're on your phone, there's two sides to every story. Number one, you're probably not being very efficient if you're always on your phone. He sees you scrolling. He sees you're not being income producing all the time. He doesn't hear your fingers typing. He sees you scrolling. And you're like, but I'm adding to my network. No, you're not. I've used that excuse before, and it's a lie. It's a lie. Okay, don't kid yourself.
When TikTok first came out, I started playing on it just to play on it, and 3 hours went by. I'm sitting here like this, literally on the couch, and he's sitting over there. And finally, he looks over and he says, "Are you gonna get to work?" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" You know, I mean, they get used to you after a while. They figure it out, and they know.
Yep. And so that's been something that I've had to realize, is learning that, like, hey, there's a lot of times where he probably does get annoyed when I'm playing on my phone and I'm labeling it in my head as work when it's not really work. Right? So that's one thing. And then the other thing is always set an end time. When are you done for the night? Don't go to sleep working this business. That is not healthy. Okay, like, I'm just going to tell you, it's not healthy and it's very ineffective. And the reason I say that is because what happens if I were to say, okay, you have until 11:30 Eastern time to get all the rest of your stuff done? You do it a lot faster, don't you? So if you don't do good on, like, if you're not like a schedule person where you're like, oh, from 8 to 9, from 9 to 10, from 10 to 11, like, if you don't like that and you don't really work well in that, don't set that type of schedule. Set deadlines for yourself. I work way better with deadlines where I'm like, okay, by this time I have to get this done. Doesn't matter what happens in the middle and like from 8 to 9, who gives an F what I'm doing, because I don't work very well with like that type of stuff. But if somebody says, okay, I don't care what you do, but by this time you have to have it done, I can do that. And so set those deadlines and not like a timeline and a hard schedule for yourself, if that's what operates. If you operate with a hard schedule, like Gabby will sometimes send me her work schedule. Sorry, guys, I'm like calling you out hardcore today. Gabby will sometimes like send me her work schedule with like all of her things. And I'm like, bro, that would drive me insane. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but cool, great, good job, works for you. But it's like everybody's different, and so that's where you have the discretion and the freedom to kind of play around and the flexibility to figure out like what works for you. And the reality of it is even if we don't like schedules, I don't like schedules. Everybody works better with the schedule. Everybody works better with a schedule. So you don't have to set those like hard lines, but set something for yourself and treat this like a business because you owe it to yourself. Okay, so Tracey, talk about your Facebook situation.
Oh God. With the schedule thing, do little changes at a time. I mean, don't try to do it all at once. I mean, if you're like me and can't, I mean, that's what I had to do. Take it, one little habit at a time. Atomic Habits taught me how to do that. Double stack your habits. But Facebook, I'm so over freaking Facebook right now, because now I got my old Facebook back, and now they deleted my other one, or they've got it on hold or whatever. What I learned from this, I learned a lot from this, because my husband, when we lost it, and I was
So give a backstory. Give a backstory real quick, like about what happened. You lost your Facebook. Like, what does that mean?
Okay, I had a very large following on Facebook. That is where 100% I worked my business was on Facebook. 100%. I wanted to work on Instagram. I kept telling myself, oh, I'll do a little bit. I'll learn it later, but I know I need to, but I don't have time because I'm working Facebook. Well, just out of the blue, and I wasn't doing anything specific, so it wasn't like anything to do with the business or anything. Facebook is just being funny right now, and I did a live video, and then I went to put a post up after that, and it locked me out. It was on Friday the 13th at 10:10 in the morning. I know the exact time. And it drove. I was devastated. I didn't know what to think. It was the middle of March. I'm shooting for Prez. This cannot be happening right now. Well, then right after that, the coronavirus hits. So now this whole pandemic thing. So now I've got that weighing on me. I'm freaking out. My daughter's works in the ER. Can't see my granddaughter now. I'm stuck at home. I got my business, but I can't get on Facebook. And I let the devil get in my head there by the third day. I let him get in my head, and my husband walked in that door, and I went off on him. I just let him have it. I was mad at God. I was mad at everything. I was like, I can't do this. I don't know why this is happening. And he looked at me and he said, God's trying to tell you something. He's trying to show you some other avenues and that you need to slow down. Because I was pushing really hard, and I was pushing myself on the ground, and I was not getting my organization into play like I wanted to. And he's like, I think God just wanted you to step back and refocus. And I didn't take that very well. I slammed the door in his face. But after I thought about it, I said, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I was looking at it on the wrong side. I was like, why is the devil doing this to me? Why? These are all signs. The devil's doing this to me. No, it was signs from God teaching me a lesson. And it made me step back and really be able to look at my business in a whole different light. I had to look at it in a whole different view. I had to look at my DTs in a whole different view. It changed the game for everything. So I started working Instagram and TikTok because I didn't have another choice. I did not have another choice. And I had to really rely on my team to step up and be the team that they were, that I wasn't allowing them to be. And so that was a big lesson, and it taught them a lot. It taught them that they were as smart as I knew they were, that they just didn't believe in themselves. And probably because they thought I didn't believe in them because I had to do everything. But so it taught me all of that. And then it was funny. I was sitting here last night, and so I got this new Facebook after 6 accounts of getting kicked off. I got this new one. I'm sitting there working. I'm making some new friends. I'm kind of liking it. I had my list of friends from my old Facebook, and I was going to add them, and I'm like, no, I don't want to add them. No, I don't want. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to add any of these people back. I like this new Facebook. And so I'm working it, and then next thing I know, on my keto page, my posts were back from Tracey Joe Rose, and I went, what? And I looked at my husband. And I said, oh my God, God just gave me my Facebook back. And the first thing that came back to my mind was because I had finally accepted what had happened, and I used that time to better myself. I mean, we're talking a month, almost 6 weeks. Until I was ready, he wasn't giving it back to me and he wanted me to learn. And I was content where everything was. I was like, I'm happy now. I've got things under control. I've got a different game plan for my business. It just woke me up, and I was completely content. So to be honest, when that Facebook came back, he said, oh God, you're going to be up all night. And I said, no, I don't even think I really want to deal with it right now. I don't even think I'm going to deal with that Facebook right now. Like that, I'm just going to stick with my other one for right now. And, I just wasn't as excited. I was excited that it was back because I wanted all my old posts back. But I had learned something from it and grew from it. And I realized not to put all my stuff in one spot. And one of the main things I almost forgot that I did learn from this was it's not the race. And I preach this all the time. This is not a race. There's nobody we're in competition with. Nothing that Kelsey does or Gabby does or anything is going to close my business. The only person that can close my business is me. The only person that can make my business get better is by me doing it. So There's no competition. There's no race. It doesn't matter who got that promotion, who got that promotion. It doesn't matter. All that mattered to me was I did not want to go back to work as a nurse because that was my other option, and that did cross my mind to go back. And I don't want to, and I'm not going to. And so this was a setback. So what? It's there's no set time that I have to do anything. It's up to me. Do I want to keep doing this, or do I want to go back to work? No, I wanted to keep doing what I was doing, whether it was a step back or not.
Well,
So once you got that,
isn't it funny? There's so many things that I want to say, because like I walked with you through some of this process while it was happening. And I remember when we talked, I was in Florida, and I was, I literally remember having this conversation. I was walking around the pool at my aunt's house, and I remember you saying, whatever he's trying to teach me, I've learned it. And this was like 3 days in, when you were like so frustrated, and like how I'm just thinking to myself, God, how many times have I said that in the midst of a storm? Okay, God, like I got it. I got your freaking point. Okay. When like we really haven't fully learned the lesson. Right.
Yeah.
And we were still worshiping what he was trying to take away so that we would fully worship him. And I think that so often it's like, I physically remember saying that when I was trying to go presidential, and I was sitting at Triple for 18 months, and I was like, okay, what else is there? Jesus, like, I get it. What else do you want me to learn? Like, and I was just like, I'm listening. I got it. But like by the way I was even saying it, I knew that I didn't get it. And by the way you were even saying it, I knew you hadn't learned it yet. And we all have to, and that's not like a hatred or like trying to hate on anybody. But here's the thing is, we have to understand that like the lesson is in the fact that when she got it back, she didn't worship it. That her husband even said, oh, this means you're going to be up all night. Her heart had transformed. Her heart had transformed in this process. And so when you could recognize that, like, I heard a pastor say this weekend, we didn't pray for this situation, but we were made for this situation. And I want you all to know that whatever it is that you're going through right now, you were made to conquer it. God created you knowing the situation would happen, and knowing that you can go through it and you can get through it. And so understanding that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. It doesn't say that the weapons aren't going to be formed. It just says they're not going to prosper. And understanding that, like, when you think you've learned, but you're still in a state of angst, you haven't learned. That's what I know. That's what I've had to experience, is when I thought I had learned the lesson, when I thought I had gone through it, right? Until I truly was able to let go and say, you can have my business. Just take it. You can have it. Okay, you can have it. You got it. Then he gives it all back in spades, with so much more value, with so much more heart, with so much more everything, because he knows that he's in control. He just had to remind us. And
you can't put the external above the internal. And that's exactly what I was doing and not even realizing it. And man, I feel so much better now. I just feel more at peace now. And in those valleys, you're going to go through those valleys. I can't tell you how many valleys I've been through in this, and I've only been in it under 2 years. When they say valleys, I used to be like, what the hell's valley? Whatever. What you didn't get your promotion that 1 month? No, they're valleys, but they're teaching valleys. I'm like, Claire Flores will never forget it on our leadership retreat. It's one of my favorite ones she sent, and she said, those valleys, that's where the grass is. That's where you get your nourishment. That's where you eat. That's where you get fulfilled to be able to climb that mountain. There's no bridge from mountaintop to mountaintop. You have to go through a valley to get to the next one. And then that hit me, and that stuck with me ever since. And that's really been like one of my biggest things in this past month and a half is I have played that over and over and over again. And it's the truth. I mean, it's the truth. If you try to skip those little steps, you're going to fall. You're going to fall. And there's no reason to. There's no reason to. It's just a process. But it all does come around, and God blesses you. But I wasn't asking him to bless it. I was just asking him for what I wanted and what I needed. I wasn't asking him. Kelsey said this one night, you need to ask him to bless all that you have done that day. And I wasn't doing that. And that's a big part. And we talked about this on our prayer Zoom about he guides us. But, and I don't mean to get into preaching if somebody's not religious on here, but he guides us and he gives us the direction. But we're the ones that steer that wheel. He don't just say, and push us and we're going to go straight and there it is. No, we have to hold on to the wheel. So you got to decide, are you going to hold on to that wheel and go where he's guiding you? And yeah, you're going to hit speed bumps. Like Kelsey said, you're going to hit those speed bumps. You're going to it happens, but you don't come off the road. You just keep that focus.
It's so good.
So, yeah.
It's so good. And I think a lot of people, who are going through stuff right now, what would you say to somebody who's just feels like, I don't know if I have time. I don't know if I have the energy. I don't know if I can do this. What would be like any words of encouragement you have?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. First off, I'll tell you, I've said the same things to myself many times. But then what I would tell you is to step back and think about where you came from or where you're at. If I didn't keep going, I think about if I had told Megan no 18 months ago, where I would be right now. And that's what reminds me that when I do have those feelings, where would I be right now if I didn't do this? I would be freaking at some COVID hospital away from my family. I would be fatter. I would be looking 65 instead of 55. I would be tired. I wouldn't have seen my I think about all those things. So if you're new in it and you haven't gotten all that yet, you need to think about, what do I want? Do I want to just keep going the way I'm going right here? Or so I put in a little bit of work. So that little bit of work and effort to me is worth it if it can give me anything out of it. And what I've gotten out of this mentally and through self-development is more priceless than those paychecks. I wouldn't trade them for the world because it made me a stronger person. It made me realize what I do want out of life. You guys are young. You guys freaking, I wish I was in my 20s and 30s doing this business, not in my 50s. You guys got it made and you've got plenty of time. You got plenty of time. So just, nothing changes if nothing changes. That's my biggest thing. Nothing's going to change if you stop and quit because you didn't want to give it a little bit of time. And really, it's not that much time. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just put in that little bit of work. It's better than being stuck where you're at because you're not going to get any further where you're at.
I love that. And I think one thing that I want everybody on here right now to do is, what is something that you want this business to give you? Write it down, write it in the comments, and decide. And don't ask yourself, well, what's realistic? I don't want you to ask yourself that question. If success wasn't an option, if it wasn't a factor, if it was already guaranteed, what kind of life do you want? And I don't want you to just ask yourself this one time, like, what is that? Okay, cool. But what is that? Like what? And I want you to define it, like freedom in $1 million. So like, I want you to define, what is that freedom? What does that look like for you? Because that's going to look like something different for everybody. What does being comfortable look like for you? What does a disciplined life look like for you? What does that feel like? And I challenge you to try to get all of your senses involved. Meaning I want you to think about, how does that feel? What does that taste like? Does that taste like freaking when you go out to eat, you don't even look at the prices on the menu? What is it? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? And I want you to get into detail about that and understand that it is something that you can have. But, and I've used this example before, so bear with me if you've heard this before, but I really want you guys to make this so obvious. And it's so scary to say some of the things that we want, because what if they don't happen? And what if I fall short? And what if I try and I can't get it? But isn't that so much better than never trying?
You're not going to get it if you don't try.
Yep.
You're not going to get anything if you don't try.
And to understand that the journey, right? And this might sound really cliche, but understanding, I think Mark Twain said that most people are buried at like, I think he said like 72, but most people die at 27.
Mm.
And what he meant by that is their souls die. That when you're not fighting for something, when you're not going after a goal that's freaking frustrating when you don't hit it, then what are you doing? If you don't have a goal that is making you frustrated, if you don't have something that you're like, gosh, I want that. It's frustrating that I can't have that. I want that. Then what are you doing? Then you're already dead. Wake up. Smell the coffee. Realize that the process, the journey is the dream. It is the dream. You going after these goals and going after these dreams. I remember I was talking to my friend Michelle, we were in the car, and I just like been really stressed out. And I was just like, you know what though? Like, I'm just so grateful that I have something that stresses me out. That I have something that I care about enough that stresses me out. And that doesn't mean that like, I'm like, so glad I'm stressed out. Like, listen, I got to grow too. Okay. People, like I got my own things that and you guys shouldn't be stressed out about certain things. But what I am saying is that like, I feel my stress comes from a feeling of, I want to be so present as a mom. Drop a 2 in the comments if you relate to this. I want to be so present as a mom, but I also want to be so present as a business owner. And I have this internal conflict where I'm like, I want to be both, but I want to be both, but I want to be both. But you want to know what God told me? He's like, but aren't you so grateful that I can give you both? Aren't you so grateful that you have something that you want to be present at? Because what you used to complain to me about was going to a job away from your baby that you hated. What you used to complain to me about, now that you're still complaining about the prayer that I answered. Right? And so I encourage you guys that like, understand that what we have here is an opportunity. We have an opportunity. And because of this opportunity, you can change not only your life, but so many other people's lives. And it truly is a blessing. And I want you to know that you have my permission to share this with people. And that's what we get to do every single day. So Tracey, is there anything you want to close us out with?
That's the biggest thing, man, is sharing it and knowing. Don't look at it as me. Don't look at it of what you can do to help other people. You know, you're going to come across people that don't want it or are negative. That's okay. There's people out there like me that needed this, and I would not have known. I didn't follow Megan on Facebook for years or months. I didn't know her from Adam. You know, but if I hadn't seen her talking about it, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And that gives me goosebumps. And that makes me almost want to cry every time I think about it, because I know where I would be. And I didn't even realize that opportunity was the opportunity that I had been praying for all these years before that. I didn't know this was it at the time. You don't know that at the time. You don't know that if this is the opportunity, the answer that God is giving you, until you give it a chance. You never know. It could be that very thing you've been praying for years. This could be it. But you're not going to know if you don't put in the work and give it a shot.
I love that.
That's really all I got to say. And thank you, Megan Carter, for making that video. See
Okay,
her.
now everybody's crying. It's fine. So I am going to close this out in prayer, and just thank you, Tracey, so much for spending your night with us. I appreciate you pouring into everybody and just being who you are and everything that you provide and add value to our team so much. And so I'm so grateful for you. Dear Jesus, we just come to you tonight and just want to say thank you. Thank you for the friendships that we've created in this business. Thank you for the relationships that exist now in our lives that we didn't even know that we needed. Thank you. Thank you for showing up in the moments that we didn't even know what you protected us from, but we know you protected us. We know that you're going to continue to protect us as we go through an unprecedented time in our world, and just ask that you just build that hedge of protection around us, and that, you know, even if anything happens in our lives that we don't know how to respond to, that we lean on you. I ask that you give everybody on the Zoom strength, that you give them strength beyond that they even knew that they were capable of, and that each time that we need you, that's when you come. That you don't come when we don't need you. You don't come when we can do it by ourselves. You come in a time of need, and we're so grateful that every time we need you, that you show up. Thank you for just perfectly orchestrating every single person to be on this Zoom tonight that's under the sound of my voice. And I just ask that, Jesus, you bless their business abundantly. But more than that is that you bless them internally, that you give them internal peace, that you give them hope, that you strengthen their character, that you create them to be the people that you've called them to be. That comes with confidence, but not confidence in ourselves and what we can do, but confidence in what you can do, Jesus. And we know that if you've brought us through everything that each of us individually has already gone through, whatever that is, whether that's abuse, whether that's a painful relationship, whether that's divorce, whether that's a loss of a child, a loss of a parent, whatever struggle we had to go through, Jesus, you brought us through it. We're so grateful for that. And we know because of that, you can bring us through anything that we go through in the future. So we want to say thank you. We come here tonight with open arms, ready to receive any blessings that you have for us, ready to receive everything that you want to give us. And just know that we're not perfect, and we're so grateful that we don't have to be. You already factored in every ounce of stupidity that we have, and we're grateful to know that you still want to bless us anyway. So we come with open arms, expectant, ready to receive whatever blessings you want to pour out. And we know that they will be exactly what we need at that time. Thank you, Jesus. We love you so much. Amen. I love you guys. Thank you so much for hopping on and spending your night with us. If you guys need anything, you know where to find us. Thank you again, Tracey. I love you.